Hello everyone, welcome to IELTS Juice. Let's start assessing an essay today. So the prompt says, in some areas of the US, a curfew is imposed in which teenagers are not allowed to be out of doors after a particular time at night unless they're accompanied by an adult. What is your opinion on this? So in the IELTS community, this is called an opinion essay. From the IELTS point of view, this prompt has only one main idea, and that is the writer's opinion. Anything else that we say here should contribute to the writer's opinion. So other people's opinion is either not important or it's only important because it's going to contribute to the writer's main opinion here. So we have only one goal to address that, and we're going to do our best to address it sufficiently, hopefully fully. Another interesting, in this case, another interesting thing here is the prompt. It's very limited. You see, the audience here is just in the US, not all the country, just certain areas. And then there are, we're talking about only teenagers, so ages from 13 to 19. And then from a particular hour at night, they are not allowed to go out unless there's an adult involved. So what I understand from this prompt is that I need to be, I cannot generalize very well here. I need to be careful who the audience is and who to target. Let's move on to the essay. Let's see what the essay has for us to offer. So let's see. It's widely argued that teenagers should be considered as a susceptible group of societies who could be exposed easily to different types of crimes. To different types of crime, that's slightly better. A curfew, because it's countable, therefore is written correctly. There is a pair of bracketing comma, so one comma before therefore, one comma after therefore, because therefore is not in its rightful place. Usually therefore starts the sentence, but in this case, the writer decided that this will put more emphasis on the sentence. So that's why we have therefore actually in the middle. A curfew, therefore, has been imposed in some areas of the United States in terms of mitigating the number of alone adolescents staying outside after certain times at night. After a certain time or after a certain hour is more preferable than certain times. However, they could be accompanied by an adult to go outside during dangerous times. Dangerous. I'm not sure. That is correct though, but I'm not sure. We ought to read ahead to see what the writer or what the report has in mind. I totally agree with the fact that teenagers should be monitored while they are outside during certain times. Again, I see times, certain times. That's getting a little bit repetitive. That might be already a signal for the examiner that we're dealing with maybe somehow a limited range of vocabulary in this particular case. The examiner doesn't make a decision yet. It's just an indication. It's just the beginning. So it gives us a signal to be careful about the range of vocabulary here. To begin with, good. I like it. It's a very good start. A curfew could be enforced to limit the number of adolescents at certain Again, certain times for the third time. This is the first one. Certain times here, another certain times here, another certain times here. So far, I've picked up 3, and I have read maybe 3, 4 sentences so far. So 3, like almost 1 certain times for every sentence of the night, owing to reduce juvenile delinquency. Okay, delinquency, juvenile delinquency is very good. So now I'm beginning to understand why the report mentioned the word dangerous. It means that teenagers can rub shoulders with their peers. Okay, so rub shoulders with somebody, or the American variation to rub elbows with somebody, that's an informal phrase. Essays, reports, and 50% of cases in letters at IELTS are formal. The only occasion we're allowed to write informal language is when we are doing a general training IELTS test, and the rubric or the prompt for task 1 is a letter to write to a friend talking about something or asking for something. So anything else that IELTS asks us is going to be formal. This is not a very good choice to write phrases because it shows the range of vocabulary, yes, but that's one plus, and then there is one minus. You will lose score because this is not a good choice of word for this particular task. But again, I like the boldness here, but I wouldn't recommend, definitely not. Please refrain from writing informal language in essays. It means that teenagers can rub shoulders with their peers who can be criminal, who might be criminals, or at least commit minor offenses. Okay, so we're using present simple tense. I understand it's safe, but at the same time, if we're talking about their peers, why not use present perfect tense? Like they at least have committed minor offenses, and we need to be careful how to spell committed with double T and then ED. It shows, it adds to our variety of grammar, and also shows the examiner I know how to spell committed, because that's relatively, that's an interesting way that's interesting to see. Not every word gets double consonant at the end when you add ed, and knowing it is part of the language, and you are exercising it correctly in front of the examiner. Minor offenses. Peer pressure, therefore, I like it, but again, this is repetitive now. Like, as a result, peer pressure would encourage teenagers. That would be much better. It gives beautiful variety. It adds beautiful variety to our sentences. Would encourage teenagers to commit crimes. Okay. Owning a gun. Owning a gun, like gun possession. For example, is mainstream in the United States, and teenagers, we need a comma here because because the subject is different now. The first one was gun possession. The second one's subject is teenagers. So we need a comma here before and. Teenagers could have a gun before reaching the lawful ages. The legal age is the correct term. I see attempts to write vocabulary for the specific topic, but as you can see, for that particular topic, the non or uncommon words have errors. Another reason encouraging curfew would be the danger of addiction for adolescents. So first one was dangerous because of crime. The second one is the use of drugs, any format, any sort. Teenagers could be easily exposed to a wide range of drugs via their peers. Correct? Staying outside at midnight, not necessarily midnight. We don't know that hour. Maybe it's 9 p.m. Maybe it's after sunset. Not necessarily midnight. Can soar the rate of addiction as few people are on the streets. I like the use of few here. The essay knows clearly that when you say a few or few, the meaning changes. So that's very good. Most addicted, for instance, are seeking drugs in the middle of the night. The use of present progressive or present continuous is not necessary here, or is not very meaningful to me. Why is it suddenly that this is a temporary thing? They are seeking the drugs in the middle of the night. They usually, that's what they do. That's what they usually do. So they seek drugs in the middle of the night, as it is easier to find the dealers during midnight. Okay, midnight is not a very long period of time, so during midnight is not a very accurate way to say at night. Just, again, another point to remember. This, therefore, oh gosh, for the third time, therefore. So, again, if you don't want to say as a result, you can say based on what just mentioned, it is clear now that to accompany, or it is clear, it is necessary. No, you can continue. Like based on what just mentioned, it is essential to accompany a teenager with an adult after a certain time at night. I have an issue. I have a larger issue actually with this sentence here. Why do we need to conclude? We have just begun explaining things here. How many sentences have we written? One. This is the second one. Then there's the third one. This one becomes the fourth one, and this is the fifth. Okay, after 4 sentences, we say, yeah, that's it. As like to wrap things up, it is essential to accompany a teenager with an adult after a certain hour at night. Anyway, all things considered, a curfew could be regarded as a positive rule to mitigate juvenile delinquency and addiction rate among adolescents. This is good. I see how organized it is. The first one, juvenile delinquency, is the first paragraph, and addiction is for the second paragraph. I like it. Personally, I believe that monitoring teenagers should not be restricted to midnight. Again, we don't know it's midnight or any time sooner. Any hour sooner than that, as they need a degree of overseas oversight. Overseas is another word. During all during all times of the day. During the day, why is it so complicated? It doesn't have to be. So 288 words. Let's assess based on the assessment band descriptor and assessment criteria. Yes, the writer's position is there. I see two obvious reasons that the writer believes in what we just heard or what we just read. So personally, I believe everything was presented and developed, but again, the task has some minor elements that was not very well addressed, or should I say, not fully addressed. So in this case, the task response is very good. It's very, very good. It's sufficiently addressed all. There was only one main part, the writer's opinion, and it was addressed and it was developed sufficiently, but not fully. In instances like why midnight? I'm sure midnight is included. That's not inaccurate, but that's not the entire spectrum of the time. We don't know, so it's best to leave it at that. We don't know, so there are certain hours. There are some restricted hours at night. I told you that the elements were presented sequentially. In the conclusion, I could see that we have references to the writer's opinion. The writer's opinion had two elements, one paragraph for each element. They were organized, arranged in a sequential manner. I could understand all the elements of the transition from one paragraph, from one sentence to another, but it was repetitive. Not inaccurate, not bad, just not natural and not beautiful. I could see there are ranges of cohesive devices, and the paragraphing is also sufficient. Referencing is also, we didn't inspect any problems with the with paragraphing or even with referencing. Yeah, the main problem is vocabulary. They don't impede communication. The part that owing or owning, because you owe something to someone, so owing a gun doesn't mean that you actually, there's a gun like a bank and then you owe the gun some money. That would be weird. So it's a typo. So it doesn't affect my understanding as the reader, but it means there are errors, and the number of errors are they're there. Not a lot of errors, but there are like a few errors there, and the range is quite wide. I told you, you get the score for range, but the awareness over these lexical items is not 100% accurate. And the grammar, again, there were errors, not very serious ones, but the errors do not impede communication. All in all, this is a very good essay. I really enjoyed this specific IELTS prompt is about curfew in the US, and it's a relatively hard one to write. It's about a very narrow topic, and you need to be very careful on who you address. Usually, many candidates generalize and talk about everywhere, but this one is just in a certain geographical location and about a certain group of individuals and at a certain hours or at certain hours of a day. So writing something like this would be about this would be difficult. But anyway, I really liked reading it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Remember, your essays, letters, and your reports are your representatives, so make sure they do their jobs well. Take care.